Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Let me say hi really quick. And who do we have? Hi, Meatball. Hi, Jandon. Hi, Soil Lodge. Hi, Jay Snyder. Hi, Tony C. Let me see. Hi, Kat. Who else do we have? Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Jane in Scotland. Thank you so much for being here. Hi, Samantha. Hi, Anna, the inbred Nazi. Hi, May Brussels Project. Hi, Petite Penguin. Okay, I think I've caught up to everybody. Yay, I'm so glad that you guys are here. Hi, Dawn and Texas Farmer. Hello. Well, thank you so much for being here. Hi, Ivermectin. Hola. And let me see. Hi, Audra P. Stopping in for a minute. Okay, thank you so much. And hi, JD Lotus. Oh, I'm so glad that you guys are here. Thank you. Hey, Mr. Crow. What's up? That's awesome. Thanks for being here, guys. Okay, so today, what we're going to be doing is, hi, Annie Kurtz. We're going to be doing something a little bit different, but it is relevant. And I could kind of want to do like a compare and contrast. And no, I'm not saying that this is the level of complicity of Miss Wheat Carr. However, I just think it's an interesting observation that we're going to make. But there was an interview with Francis, Samuel, and Wheat specifically about, stuff that was happening. And there was a vehement denial that Michael Carr worked at the Phoenix House. If you've not heard of the Phoenix House, it is very similar to Synanon. I am not assuming that anybody knows what Synanon is, and I'm not here to do like a really deep dive. We're just going to do like a quick rundown. But when you see what's going on at Phoenix House and the people that are involved in Phoenix House, it's very, very fascinating. And then Soil Lodge had sent me something about Arnie Lerma, something else that they had found, and I think that it's super relevant. And so I want to show you guys. I think that we should talk about it. And then we are going to look at some old newspapers and a little bit of some court transcripts of Leonard Lake and Charles Ng. If you are not familiar with those crimes, buckle up. Okay, you're going to have to buckle up because Leonard Lake and Charles Ng is really dark. But if you guys are familiar with that case, then you know who Cricket is and you know why I'm going to compare and contrast. Hello, P. Thomas. Hi, Echo Cat. Thank you so much for dropping in. Hi, Tom Cooper. All right, so we are going to run my brand new intro. I'm quite happy with it, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. So let's go.
Let me teach you how to whip the grain. Inside peanut butter, outside with the candy frame. Serving corners in this jet. I'm on a quest to touch 100 mil before I lay myself to rest. Hand on the Glock, I turn the beam on. A savage on the fucking run, the Unabomber, wreaking heaven, singing sad songs. Red rum, murder engraved inside of my mind. Pull up to your funeral and kill everybody inside. Lock and loaded, bust a hammer, hit the nail and crucify. Tie your body up in the dungeon to make your soul mine. Death note, got a page with your name on it. Bullets flying to your head like a fucking comet. Stepping out the coffin with that golden drip, slit wrist, perp smoke, gun clip, shooting from the fucking hip, walking out the catacombs, a chip all on my shoulder, told the chopper like a boulder, ain't nobody fucking colder, speaking tongue when I spit this on the mic, strapped up like a dike, yo bitch want the pipe, it's alright, I might hit tonight, I might end your life by the knife, you gon' pay the price, I'ma dim your fucking lights and leave you hanging by the side, rap inside your mailbox and reach that you a bitch, body bagging motherfuckers that be thinking that they slick, 5'9" to the death of me, I never shall repent, hollow tip straight to your cranium, I hit another lick.
Don't forget, we are literally out here fighting demons, y'all. Oh, Audra P., thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's really kind. Thank you. Thank you, Annie Kurtz. Jeez, stop it, you guys. Thank you so much for the, I don't know what those are, if they're super chats or stickers, but thank you guys so much. Let me see who else popped in. Let me see. Hold on. I thought I missed somebody. Well, maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm imagining things. I'm losing my mind. Oh, and thanks, guys. Yeah, I don't know. I'm quite happy with that intro. I didn't know that like they got the mob to join in to help with the search. I was like, what? And then I found just like that really janky footage of Sam Carr, and I was like, that's him. That's the illustrious Sam Carr. I was very excited. It just wasn't great. It wasn't a great copy. So I can't remember what the name of the program is called. I'll find it. I make those on my phone. It's super ghetto. I literally go on YouTube and I find the clips, like I hunt through documentaries and stuff, and I do screen recordings, and then I do a screen recording of like the song off of Spotify, and then I just sit there and mess with it on my phone. And hello, Sure Shot Sav. And let me see. All right. I have a cat trying to get my attention. Well, that's okay. You guys, like I said, we're not, I mean, everything is serious to an extent, but I'm pretty laid back. Like, I'm not, giving anybody a hard time about anything. So, like I said, Mrs. Wheat Carr. This is what triggered this, whole exploration of the Phoenix house specifically. So I went into Hathy Trust and I grabbed a couple of just clips of these different Senate hearings. That way you guys can see that what is it? What is it for? Because I don't know if you guys remember, it was maybe like 1 or 2 episodes ago, I found Sister, she was going by Blair Lawrence at that time, I think, the transactional analysis. And I was like, this sounds like compulsions analysis. Well, guess who else was involved in transactional analysis? Phoenix House, Synanon, and the Daytop program. So they're all literally the same. These are literally the same. So I think it's really interesting that Processian is doing the exact same thing. That is Michael Carr working there? Because I don't believe anything that comes out of the Carr family's mouth at all. When I'm reading interviews with them, it's opposite day for me. Like, seriously, it's opposite day. Let me see. On your phone? Yes, on my phone. Hi, Brad Conley. And hello, Forensics of Evil. Welcome. I'm too old to do anything on my phone except make calls. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of the phones. They serve a purpose, but I would be fine with one of those old brick phones. Hi, Sneaky Pete. I screenshot Sam Carr from the Netflix and zoomed in. Possible severe burn marks on his arm, or it could be wrinkles. All right. And hi, Auntie Green. All right. So let me get this first slide pulled up. It is what it is. I just want to show you guys, because then I'm going to show you guys an article that I think gives a decent breakdown of what Phoenix House or Synanon was. But we're going to look at Phoenix House first because, well, they were very adamant that he did not work here. Okay. So let me right here. So basically what this was a recovery program, right? This is one of the oldest articles that I could find. And it was a residential rehab center for addicts, part of the city's addiction service agency program. The staff are nearly all ex-addicts. I thought it was interesting that they said the director, himself an ex-junkie, described how it began last spring. The city approached more than 50 landlords before we found Mr. Jacob Salzman, who was willing to let a bunch of addicts move into his building en masse. The first group moved in last May. Now, obviously, if you know about John Wayne Gacy, I think that this is very interesting that the New Rochelle JCs were discussing the therapeutic community that housed more than 1,000 addicts at Phoenix House. I will be digging into that a bit more deeply at another time. Now, this one got some interest, and particularly on Twitter. So the owners of this apparently very fancy floral shop, Parish Woodworth, Mr. Andrew Downs and John Cianciolo, I know I'm saying that wrong. So they decided to help out specifically with Phoenix House to train them, which this is all extremely suspicious to me, guys. So for more than 3 months, the youngsters from Phoenix House had contact with some of the richest and best-known people in Manhattan. There was a bit of culture shock on both sides. The trainees found themselves talking to people like Katharine Hepburn and Francois de la Renta. Now, why is that interesting in particular? Because specifically, the process, Timothy Wiley himself talks about being a neighbor to Katharine Hepburn. I don't know if you guys remember that. I'm going to find the article and pull it up because, of course, I didn't have it ready. But I'm going to show you guys because this came from the Ed Sanders file. Here we go. I found it. All right. Because as soon as I saw that, I'm like, well, isn't that interesting? Because Timothy Wiley was talking about how they were neighbors with Katharine Hepburn. So what the hell is up with that? And then someone said that, like, Anton LaVey and Katharine Hepburn were hanging out at one point. I don't know. All right, so we've got this here. Let me zoom in. Did he say it? Right here. Whoop. So right above this picture of Timothy Wiley, look at him. He's trying to seem so innocent. We're healing the lonely, whatever. So tea was served in the upstairs drawing room, which looks out over the garden that the foundation shares with Katharine Hepburn and the rest of the neighbors. Yeah? Okay. Just a coincidence, yeah. And look at there is a Charity Benedicte, aka Mother Ria / Ophelia / what's her other name? I can't even think of it. Isabel Nasser. Yep, that's her. They're saying farewell to Satan. Yeah, I bet they are. I bet that they are. I don't believe you. So, I mean, we're getting much closer, in my opinion, to tying these people like directly to the Process Church. It's just going to be through some obscure connection, you know what I mean? Which is fine. That's what I anticipated. I didn't think that it was going to be easy at all. Let me look at the chat really quick. New Rochelle, lots of SOS action there. Yeah, well, I don't know anything about New York at all, but there's certain places that keep coming up, right? And so I'm like, okay, at least I'm getting a feel for where I should be looking. Hello, Eric G. I'm so glad that you're here. Oh, you do remember Phoenix House. Okay, well, I'm glad that some people know who it is because a lot of these recovery programs just ended up being cults. They literally ended up being government sanctioned cults, which is just, beyond me. Let me see. Didn't get a chance to. Oh, yes, Meatball gets a wrench. That's awesome. Let me see. Would you consider starting memberships, Dana? I'd love to join if you did. Well, I guess I wouldn't be opposed to it. I don't even know if I can do that. If I work it out with the McClurys where I can have them on for even if it's, like an audio sort of interview, I don't think that we would be able to do it with a camera. I would want that to be something where I could control who is in the chat. You know what I mean? Because I want to protect them. So, yeah, it's something that I'll consider. Parish Woodworth was elite florist store. Rich people need flowers too. Yeah, it's interesting, Forensics of Evil. When I was just kind of looking through, I mean, all kinds of celebrities, like the celebrity weddings, celebrity events. I'm like, oh, them some real fancy flowers. Is that all you guys are selling there? Let me see. Katharine Hepburn was also dating Howard Hughes. She's way into the occult world. What the hell, man? I'm not judging people for their beliefs, but like I do judge the process very harshly. So it's like, what the hell? Because we've got to do the Mary Tyler Moore stuff eventually. I haven't forgotten about that because she wrote the opening for the Best Friends book. I did find the charity that she opened in New York. It's in the 90s, but I have a feeling that we'll find some interesting ties there. It was called Fido NYC. It seems very suspicious in my opinion. Let me see. And rehab programs are the best way to figure out how current how current drug trafficking channels. That makes a lot of sense, P. Thomas. That's a very good point. I didn't think of that. That's very interesting. I think it's also a way to target vulnerable people. You know that they're going to be more easily manipulated because they're going through a hard time, And if these programs are already in place and, well, they've been practicing them in prisons because there's a lot of Senate hearings about that, I guess we can include dodgy therapy cults as part of what I call the preacher circuit operating in the background. Larry King, big flower dude. Oh, are you talking about Lawrence King, Sneaky Pete, from the Franklin scandal. Hi, Morgana. I don't know if which way Katharine Hepburn swung. Let me see. Oh, the McClarys are here. Hello. At the National Security Archives, I found the version of the Psychophysiological Studies of Hypnosis and Suggestibility that the CIA turned over to Kennedy and Inouye in 1977. Hughes was rich straight for pay. Rehabs were used as fronts for MK. Hi, add-on. Religious industries want my everything for years on. Oh, yeah. Hi, Dana. Hello. West's name and affiliation were redacted as expected, but the CIA's version was also shorter and watered down in comparison. West's document was 14 pages. This one was 5, including a cover page. That is very fascinating, and I will have to come back and catch up with the chat, guys. Sorry, because I know I'm going to get lost here. So as far as Lawrence King being into flowers, Sneaky Pete, I'm going to have to look into that because specifically, Lawrence King is still working with kids today, like right now. I have traced him to a gifted kids opera program operating out of Washington, D.C. I tried to get in contact with them, and they didn't really want anything to do with it. So I don't know. I won't say that I was surprised because, well, it's Lawrence King and it's still a cover up. You know what I mean? But let's go ahead and let's get back to this because I just want you guys to see where they're talking about Synanon. Okay, so this is, I don't remember which Senate hearing it is, but specifically, it says the Phoenix House followed the classical Synanon Daytop belief in the use of paraprofessional staff and was staffed by ex-addicts. In contrast to Synanon, it believed in re-entry, moving people back into the society outside of the therapeutic community. It had a strong education program and operated its own public school and a tutorial program. I thought that that was interesting. And then down here, in regards to transactional analysis and talking about Esalen, because I know that we have not discussed anything about Tavistock in a while. However, let us remember group therapy's impetus for its major expansion came from the need for clinical services during and immediately after World War II, right? And it discusses here the encounter group movement or the human growth and potential movement emerged, stimulated by the founding of human growth centers around the US, such as Esalen. And then it just gives a nice little history of transaction or transactional analysis, specifically created by psychiatrist Eric Byrne in the late 1950s. And they pioneered it in Arizona and Illinois in federal prisons. Yeah, so isn't that lovely? I don't know. The things that they do to prisoners in the prison system is completely ridiculous to me, but that's where a lot of these programs were practiced. I mean, you guys already know. We talked about Donald Dufries, what they were doing at Vacaville. Talking about cutting out chunks of people's brains, right? Now, let me show you this guy really quick, this Frank Montero, because I'm gonna hunt this dude down because there's something up with this guy. Because he's like chairman of these other companies, but then he's working for the UN, and then he's getting involved in the Phoenix House. And I'm like, well, aren't you a busy boy? Aren't you a busy boy? Let me see. He spent thousands on flowers. He was obsessed with having them everywhere. Well, I wonder if, that's interesting. So I don't know if Lawrence King is also working in a restaurant, but he is straight up on it's a gifted kids opera program. And you guys know, if you're familiar with the Franklin scandal, that dude, old Larry has some pipes on him. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird. And I made sure to do my due diligence that I wasn't, falsely making these accusations against him, because obviously it's pretty heavy, even though he wasn't charged, not for any of the actual important things that he did, but it's him. Yeah, I cross-referenced every single obituary that I could find. Just stop by real quick, back to researching the Scientology history of the Carrs. Yeah, McClarys. Yeah, hunting devils. We're out here looking for devils, y'all. I'm all about it. Let me see. I believe he and his family are involved in the insurance industry. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but let's go ahead and let's look at this next one. And I don't have much, but I just want to show you who he is, okay? So let's start with the pictures. Okay, so here he is, Mr. Frank C. Montero. So he was named by the U.S. UN delegation to head a new department, which will help new diplomats here adjust to living in New York. Now, I think that this is fascinating because, the process, we've already looked at one of those immigration services reports. I'm not saying that they're diplomats, but we know that they are protected intelligence assets. So I just wonder if he had his hand in helping them out. And then right over here, this is 1975, February 22nd. So he was vice president of urban affairs of Tishman. Whoops. Sorry. Come on. Zoom it back in. Oh, dang it. It's not going to let me do it, is it? Nope. Hold, please. Hold on. Stop sharing. Let me go back over here. This thing is frozen, isn't it? Dang it. Hold on. I don't want it to freeze like that. Okay. I don't want to show you guys Wheat Slide either because I don't know if that's her current phone number, and I'm not trying to put her phone number out here. Sorry, because Ancestry has a lot of information and I don't want to do that. So my bad. Hold on, please. Thank you for your patience. Okay, now we're back up and rolling. Beautiful. Okay, so so Tishman Realty and Construction Company, and then he's named board chairman of the Phoenix House, which is just sus to me. Because apparently he was a realty mogul. I don't really know if I'm saying that right. But I mean, this dude is pretty plugged in. So he was also president of the African American Students Foundation. I found it super fascinating that he was in contact with Fulbright because if you guys have seen any of my research about the Leavitt family and the weird stuff going on in Ukraine, Shalom Leavitt, the wife, she was specifically under the Fulbright program, which is a gifted kids program, but also they do adults that I would imagine are selected for a specific purpose to bring democracy to Ukraine. So I will be coming back to this because Fulbright is sus AF. And then over here, this is him getting named to the UN mission, former associate director of the National Urban League, and a pioneer in integrated housing. Yeah, I bet he was. I wonder if this guy was a slumlord. And then down here, it's him talking about, or Kennedy, I guess, was talking about him and James Shepley of the Nixon administration. So that guy's super plugged in. I think it's really bizarre that he's taking over any sort of administrative role at the Phoenix House specifically. I just don't think that that's normal. I don't think that that's normal. Now, I have two more. Well, we'll just do one more about the Phoenix House. That way you can have an idea of what they primarily focused on, because I think it's weird that they're saying, oh, it's all these youngsters and they're hanging out with all these celebrities. Okay, it's not suspicious whatsoever. Oh, this is still sharing with you guys. Sorry. Whoops. I thought I stopped sharing the screen. Okay, well, here we go. So the Phoenix House was a classical therapeutic community on the Synanon Daytop model, but it was predominantly heroin abusers. It was a 24-hour residential program operating as a closed, heterogeneous, hierarchical society. The minimum time required for satisfactory completion of the program was 2 years, and sanctions against leaving were exercised. I don't really know how therapeutic that sounds. You know what I mean? It sounds like a cult, quite frankly. That's what it sounds like to me. But, it is what it is. I guess I'm kind of judgmental about cults. Let me see. In the Hank Chinati Queen's DA interview, Chinati states that he went by Stephen Carl and worked at the Phoenix House. What? Dang. Okay. All right. Well, is it glitchy? Am I glitchy here now? I'm so sorry if it got glitchy, guys. Let me know, please, because I don't want it to keep glitching. You know what I mean? I'm a freaking hot mess today. Bill Clinton was a Fulbright. Color me surprised. He didn't inhale, right? Yeah, we're not calling wheat ivermectin. I don't want to talk to her. I have nothing nice to say because it would be like, I don't know. I feel like I would end up just like interrogating her. Good now? Okay. Thank you so much. Good night, Jane in Scotland. Thank you so much for being here. And operations happening in these rehabs. Oh yeah, absolutely. There's major stuff going on here. 110%. Now, let's take a look at Synanon because some people don't know what Synanon is. And like I said, we're not going to do a deep dive. I found what I think is a fairly interesting article that gives a brief breakdown because starts out as one thing and just goes completely bananas. And I'm not like hating on, Alcoholics Anonymous or anything like that. My very best friend, she got sober before me and it has worked very well for her. But I just think that certain people are more vulnerable to group environments and, group control, behavior modification. So some people think that Alcoholics Anonymous is a cult. I wouldn't completely disagree. But like I said, I know it does help some. So, shaved heads, snip tubes, Imperial Marines, and dope fiends. The rise and fall of Chuck Dederick and Synanon. And like I said, we're really not going to read through all of this. But there he is giving a lecture meeting in 1962. And he was embracing AA wholeheartedly. Began helping others like himself, talking them sober, and bullying them into giving up the bottle. Yeah. He called them bull sessions, which is interesting. Some other people call them struggle sessions or like Maoist struggle sessions. But yeah, these things generally do not go well. So let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. We're going to keep going. So here is the game. So this is the big thing. The game consisted of a dozen or so addicts sitting in a circle. One player would start talking about the appearance or behavior of another, picking out their defects and criticizing their character. But as soon as the subject of the attack tried to defend him or herself, other players would join the barrage, unleashing a no-holds-barred verbal onslaught. Vulgarity was encouraged. Talk dirty and live clean, said Dederick, and so the other members would accuse the defendant of real and imagined crimes, of being selfish, unthinking, of being a no-good, ugly, I'm going to say it, guys. Sorry, I'm reading it. Diseased cocksucker who was too weak to go straight and was too much of an asshole, junkie, crybaby, motherfucker to admit it. Oh my gosh, I am sorry. Faced with this unrelenting group assault, the recipient would eventually have little choice but to admit their wrongdoing and promise to mend their ways. Then the group would turn to the next person and begin all over again. Wow. A lot of foul language, yeah. And these are some people in the game, specifically. The first time it hits you, it absolutely destroys you. Remembered a former game player. No matter how loud you scream, they can scream louder, recalled another. And no matter how long you talk, when you run out of breath, they're there to start raving at you again and laughing. Emotional catharsis was the aim. There were only two rules: no drugs and no physical violence. It was vicious, but it actually seemed to work. One cannot get up, remarked Dederick, until he is knocked down. Now, like I said, I'm not here to do a super deep dive on that. It ended up turning into a very violent group, and things did not go well, as these things often do. But that is specifically what Phoenix House was modeled on, was the exact same thing. And I would like to remind people the game of the process, while a little bit more spoopy, right? A little bit more artistic, way more graphic with the rape game specifically. Kind of the same, isn't it? Kind of the same. It's something to consider because the process was doing that stuff before them, and they were. Because it's really exciting. I haven't told you guys, but since they had popped in earlier, I'll tell you. So Virginia is very, very good at getting like old books, old magazines, stuff like that. She's the reason why a lot of the like Tavistock books that I read to you guys are up in the news or up in the archives. But she has placed an order for the 4 first process magazines because there's one that like nobody has seen. And I think the first one, it's the first one, and it drives me nuts. When she told me what it was titled, I like wanted to throw my phone. It's called Conspiracy of Silence, which really bothered me because of the Franklin scandal. Obviously, I don't think that the two are necessarily related. That's a huge difference in time, but I just found it a little bit ironic and kind of insulting. But at least we have them coming, guys, because you know that we're going to show you. Let me see. Hello, Professor Cameltoe. I was referring to Stephen Carl Trachtman, aka Reeve Rockman in The Ultimate Evil. Thank you for clarifying. I will go back and look. Phoenix House was close to several places of interest, including Paul Abram, major child trafficker, lived. That west side of Manhattan was the flesh pot for the elite. Puh. Hi, Fire Pixie. Hello. Let me see. Cinnabon is a cult too. Well, I mean, I'll join that cult. I like Cinnabon. Let me see. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to catch up a bit. The game sounds like Maoist self-criticism sessions. Shining Path did that to their followers. Yeah, like straight up. It's like Maoist struggle sessions. It's just screaming at each other. And it sounds like it was what Marianne was doing to people. You know what I mean? Because like in those court records, they're talking about it. How abusive she was. They're all doing the same. The cults are the same. It's just presented differently. Hello, Thrash. Let me see. Game sounds familiar, so to speak. And the Sullivan Institute cult became violent to their critics, too. And let me see. Sorry, guys. Cool on the magazines. The Process Church Pokemon. Yeah, I mean, basically. Yes, absolutely. But I think that those magazines are going to give us a better idea of where they were and when they actually started. Because when I was looking at that stuff with Virginia, this was a little while ago. In particular, the architecture school, I showed you guys. I didn't show you guys the thing specifically that I'm about to reference, but in that magazine, there's a font at the very bottom of one of them, and it matches the font that the process uses on, I think, their first 3 magazines. So we think that they were using the architecture school to put out their first publications, which would make sense to me. I still think that the remaining magazines were being published with McNaughton out of Australia, because that's the only place that I've been able to find anything that matches the publication company that they list in the magazines. But who knows? Let me see if you're new. Oh, well, thank you guys for promoting me. I appreciate it. Okay, now I want to look at the Arnie Lerma stuff, guys. This is something that Soil Lodge sent me, and that I don't know. I really think that I can't prove it, and maybe it's neither here nor there, but whatever happened to Arnie, and someday I'll come on and I'll talk about what I think. These aren't things that are easy to talk about, especially in the situation that he was in. And I just think that these things should really be taken into consideration, because I do think that he was taking a risk in discussing these. So this is on Quora. All right, so let me get this bigger. So why is Scientology considered to be a deadly cult? So he's talking about the telephone number for the headquarters in Clearwater, the Flag Land Base, which was in Berkowitz's pocket when he was arrested. And again, he says that the book mentions Scientology about 30 times. He also discusses how at the ranch, they had e-meters there. I would remind people, too, that the process had the P-scope. It was the exact same thing, but it was just the P-scope, and I showed you guys them holding the cans. You know what I mean? So, who knows? Now, let me see. I want to go a little bit further down. So right here, I think that this is really, really interesting. So, Bruce Davis was one of Charlie Manson's pals. Joe Lisa. You know Bruce Davis? You should feel lucky that you didn't end up dead in some downtown alley with 50 plus knife wounds. I don't suppose he told you what he did with the bodies of Cindy Mellon, Robin Graham, or Donna Lass, did he? Is there any way you could post that letter, your reference, or email? Joe Lisa. Bruce Davis explains how Shorty was killed and his non-involvement with the Charles Manson family. It wasn't his mother or his sister or Manson who told him to surrender. It was Mary Sue Hubbard and Jane Kember, the Guardian's office, who ordered him to turn himself in. They knew their investigation would eventually reveal that Scientology was connected to the Zodiac killings. So when he went back to London after he killed Gullen Sharp, Mary Sue and Jane told him to surrender. Anybody who tries to downplay Scientology's involvement in Manson and Zodiac killings is part of the misinformation campaign. Yeah? That checks out to me in a big, big way. Because no, I haven't looked into the Zodiac stuff, guys. I haven't. However, we will eventually. I haven't forgotten about Gullen Sharp either. We are going to come back to that, but I'm just following the research where it takes me. And I think that, Arnie Lerma, I don't think that anything that I've read from him thus far that I've seen, granted, I haven't looked at everything, but the things that I've shown you guys, I think that they're fair to consider, especially with what we've seen thus far, what we've been able to prove thus far. You know what I mean? Didn't the Finders also have something called The Game? And the game caller was Marion Petite. Let me see. I think that you are right, Fire Pixie, but I'm not 100% sure. Oh, thank you so much, Fire Pixie. Happy Kissinger's Dead Day. Amen. Woo. Yeah. Bye-bye, Kissinger. Rotten hell. You're a scumbag. Seriously, your mother should have swallowed. Excuse me, that's a little rude, but that dude was, he's literally a demon. Let me see. Dem Guggenheim's Pergamon Press. Well, let's keep in mind, guys, because obviously, and I'll show you the map. Somebody remind me, because Forensics of Evil actually inspired me with the map. Because we are going to talk about the Roy Cohn stuff. We are going to talk about the stuff with the United Nations. We're going to talk about the stuff with Epstein. Pergamon Press. That's Ghislaine's dad, right? So who knows? Because, just because Epstein, got caught later on, and then Ghislaine gets punished later on, punished for trafficking to nobody, right? Because that makes sense, because we live in a clown world. However, they were active at that time. And so was her dad. Her dad was highly active, and her dad was, highly plugged in. You know what I mean? Let me see. And Bruce Davis spent time in Manchester. I know the store he frequented, right in the vicinity of the Moores murders. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Zodiac, most boring serial killer ever. Let me see. There is a crazy murder connected to Iran-Contra, but I'll be patient. Doreen Gall's brother Jeff thought her boyfriend in Arizona had something to do with it. I found him for him and they talked. Wow, May Brussels Project, that's interesting. That death was so violent. I didn't realize how violent it was. And I was just like, what? What the hell? Why do you have to take it to that extreme? And they were so young. And there's not really anything out there, in detail about Thetan Manor. It's was that the process? Why is there no information about it? Seriously, I would like to know. Let me see. Zodiac could be the Black Dahlia murderer. Henry Kissinger was the lone gunman. Yeah, he would be the only one that I would consider a lone gunman. You know what I mean? Henry Kissinger is a disease. May Brussels. Touche. Well stated. I agree. Let me see. I'll toast to that. And all right, so you guys are catching up. That's great. Yeah, I won't lie. I celebrated in my head that Henry Kissinger was gone. And no, I don't feel bad about it. Oh, God. He was a wicked, wicked, wicked man. Okay, now, we are going to veer off track a little bit because, again, this is just other considerations. Because we have to step back and look at other things. Look at other things that are happening. This keeps me grounded psychologically and emotionally. You know what I mean? That way, I know I'm not like losing my mind, even though I am losing my mind. However, specifically, we are going to look at Charles Ng and Leonard Lake. If you have not heard of them, or if you know and you don't want to hear about it, this would be the time to step away, okay? Because this is going to kind of cover a couple of things. This is going to show that specifically the people, including Kenneth Lanning from the FBI, the cult expert, who says, we've never found snuff films. They don't exist. That's a damn lie. That's a damn lie, and he knows it. Sorry, because this case proved otherwise, even though they were very, very, very vague about what they found on that property. But I just want to show you guys because this wasn't that long after, and granted, yes, it was on the other side of the country, but this is kind of taking a program to kill angle looking at this, because Cricket, the ex-wife, you know, she was guilty. She was guilty of being involved in all of that stuff. Seriously. And I'm going to show you guys some of the court testimony because it's completely insane to me that she was able to walk away from that entire situation. And quite frankly, I think that Leonard Lake and Charles Ng were the fall men. The fall men. I'm not saying that they weren't involved in that stuff, but that was not a two-man operation. And Cricket knew exactly what was going on, because I think it was Cricket and Leonard Lake's mother. Like, they literally went back to the property and cleaned up the house and took a bunch of evidence away. They didn't get in trouble. They didn't get in trouble at all. So I think that this is another example of certain families being protected. Why? Don't know, but I do find that it's relevant. So we're going to take a little stroll through the newspaper archives, because the stuff about the tapes, about snuff films and how they're not real. Yes, they are. And it's insulting when people insinuate otherwise, because it's just not bore out by the facts. Okay. So here we go. All right. So this is the South Florida Sentinel, June 10th, 1985. In bizarre California murders, police find a videotape of a woman pleading for her baby. And right here, a videotape showing a partially clad handcuffed woman pleading for the return of her baby was found at an isolated cabin where police unearthed 3 skeletons. The tape, one of 2 found, showed the woman being ordered to undress at the 3-acre farm used by Leonard Lake, who apparently committed suicide in police custody last week. The woman was ordered to perform sexual acts and threatened with death, begs her tormentors to return her baby. They believe the woman to be one of 3 adults missing from a cabin near the land. The second videotape shows Lake saying he would take poison if he was caught, which obviously he did eventually. It's like a horror film. Vicious. Charred bones buried in a telephone line trench near the house have been identified as those of a man and a woman. Other remains are believed to be those of a child. This is definitely one of the more darker cases. And he did commit suicide. He took a cyanide pill specifically when he was arrested, which is very unfortunate, but obviously he was prepared. And right here, teenager may have helped to build a torture chamber. A frightened high school boy says he worked part-time for 6 months helping Leonard Lake build a tool shed near the vacation home. The tool shed may have been a sex torture chamber for victims of at least 3 and possibly 25 killings near the mountain community of Wilseyville in the Sierra Nevada mountains, 125 miles northeast of San Francisco. The existence of the chamber was reported by the San Francisco Examiner, but police have declined to comment. And right here, Mosher said when he arrived for work one rainy day, Lake told him that instead of working, they would watch a videotape. The youth said the tape carried pictures of women undressing, apparently without the knowledge that they were being photographed. So there's that to start it out. And I know that this is unpleasant, guys, but again, I think that these things are important and they can't be understated, because I think that all of this is legitimately programmed to kill, domestic terrorism operation type stuff. And these things are happening close together in time. Film of shackled woman found where bones were uncovered. Yeah. And this, I'm not going to sit here and read all of this. However, they believe that a video producer, his wife, and child may have been the victims, and have said 4 people are missing from the house next door to the home. And they said that they found a tooth that might have belonged to a child. There were a lot of tapes, a lot of bodies. This is the truth about like what happened to this. Like I said, this was not a one-man show at all, and it wasn't just Leonard Lake and Charles Ng. It wasn't. I do not care what the FBI says. I literally don't care. Now, let me look at the chat really quick. From Dusk Till Dawn. Hi, Nick Cook. I don't know who you are, but I'm so glad that you are here. How could you reference that book now that Manny has debunked it? He debunked nothing. He debunked nothing. Nothing whatsoever. Seriously. Leonard Lake was a pussy and took the easy way out. Hell yeah, he was. Mae Brussel Project. It's interesting. They said when they were raiding the house, they like reached up above the doorway and they found a bunch of more cyanide pills. So, I mean, I guess they were all planning to maybe take the easy way out. Snuff cannibal films in the Ozarks. Well, that's spooky. Let me see. Snuff films and Ronald Sisman. The rumors of snuff films point to him. Roy Radin was way too involved with the Police Benevolent Association. Maury was convinced that cops killed him. That is very interesting. I was looking in the newspaper archives at Roy Radin. Wasn't too familiar with who he was, but he was in bed with the cops. That is clearly obvious. Like, he is at every single event. And I'm like, this is a weird relationship for these people to have. The cops screwed up. They did not investigate all of the property. It could have been stopped. Lazy filth with badge and uniforms. I completely agree. Chat request. Please do not use the... Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Let me see. Did Ronald Sisman live in LA and hang out in Laurel Canyon? Did he know Michael Carr? Well, I want to know if Ronald Sisman knew Samuel Carr, because Samuel Carr was in LA. It's a valid question. He was in LA for a time. Hey, bug dude. Let me see. And Manny the occult is the dumbest thing ever. All his moderators are literal occultists. I don't know. I don't, it is what it is, man. When that guy's on a mission, God bless, so am I. So I just think we have different goals. First Nine Inch Nail video that started the ball rolling was a fake S film, was investigated, was on hard copy. Ooh, I would love to see that episode. That's fascinating to me. When one sees one of the videos of woman abducted coming out of work, later lying in her underwear on a bed numb, I cry out, where are the miracles? Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff is... It's out here. It's known that these things exist. Seriously, that's why it's so insulting. Like, anyone wants to use Kenneth Lanning because, he's a cult expert. Okay. He's dictating how the FBI is going to, do their investigation. That's what he's doing. And that's all that he's doing. Now, let's go ahead and look at some more archives. We're not going to spend too much time, but I got to drive the point home, guys. Okay, so remains of missing people discovered at the remote cabin. This is February 22nd, 1980 in the Indiana Gazette. Yeah. Sexual torture and charred remains. I think that they said that they ended up being on the property for a month. Specifically, let me see. There we go. The Calaveras County officials hauled a second flatbed truckload of evidence off the site and allowed reporters to tour the 3-acre property. Investigators have found 5 bags of human bones, sexually explicit photos, videotapes of sexual torture involving Lake Ng and women, charred handcuffs, and jewelry. The bunker contained a tool storage area and a hidden chamber with a 2-way mirror, a mattress, a bucket for a toilet, and cosmetics. A partially dismantled subcompact car and a gray pickup truck found on the site belonged to the missing neighbors. Yeah. I mean, this is rough, man. This is bad. This was so bad. The bed in the master bedroom had 4 screw holes and eye bolts used to chain people down. A weapon described as an AR-7 survival gun was found in the house, along with books that apparently belonged to Lake with titles such as A History of the SS and How to Get Lost 100 Ways and Never Get Found. Lake was convinced World War III and a nuclear holocaust were just around the corner and was determined to survive at any cost. He planned a network of bunkers stocked with food, weapons, and slave women, and participated with others in war games through the woods, police say. Doesn't that seem like a really weird, consistent sort of narrative or predilection for some of these things where it's like, oh, the end of the world is coming, right? It's like, it could just be an excuse, and that's fine. However, I don't know. I don't really buy it in particular. Now, we are going to look because, I don't know. When you know what someone is capable of after the fact, but then you see a photo of them acting normal, I think that it's kind of haunting, but it also, brings you back to reality. So let's take a look at Ng and his wife, or former wife. So this is, of course, my favorite, the Omaha World Herald, June 16th, 1985. There is Lake and Miss Belas and their 1981 wedding. Ex-wife is a mystery in mass killing case. Yeah, mystery my ass. So, she and her parents owned the Calaveras County property where Lake and his companion, Charles Ng, allegedly did their killings. All her attorney, Doug Paris, will say is that his client is cooperating with investigators. She won't talk publicly about what, if anything, she may know of the cabin. I feel she is a suspect, Calaveras County Sheriff Claude Ballard said of her, who was married to Leonard Lake for less than a year in the early 1980s. I feel anyone is a suspect who knew what occurred at the location and did not come forward to report it. This crime is of such heinous seriousness that I am not going to overlook anyone. And obviously, we're not going to really get into the depth of this case because it is kind of convoluted, okay? But she was a teacher's aide at an elementary school, which is extremely disturbing because, and I'm not going to go into it here because I'm not trying to really traumatize myself or anybody else. However, they talk about when he's sentenced, when Charles Ng is sentenced, I think they only mention 1 or 2 specific tapes. But when you read through the newspapers and you read these interviews with these detectives, you saw one where a woman is screaming out for her child, for her baby, right? There are other tapes where it's been reported that you could hear children screaming in the background. And they have not and will not specify how many tapes were found, which I think is completely unacceptable. Even if they just gave a number, they don't have to give all the details, but they should at least give the amount. I think that the reason why they didn't is because Leonard Lake and Miss Cricket right there were able to go back to the property and remove things and clean the house, which is completely freaking nuts to me. However, we're going to take a look at these court transcripts really quick, and then I promise I will look at the chat. Okay, so right here. So, there we go. So, June 1985, Fern Ebling was present at her mother's house along with Cricket. Cricket asked Fern and her mother to go up to Wilseyville during the night to collect some items. Fern's mother, Gloria, did go up with Cricket. Fern did not recall that Cricket was panicked at the time, but acknowledged telling investigator Kathy Seguchi that she was panicking about some videotapes and stuff that were up there. Yeah? I think that that's fascinating. Now, I am not going to sit here and read all of this because some of this stuff is extremely horrific. The things that these men are on record saying, I don't feel comfortable even like reading it. But I am going to drop that in there because those court records are going to tell you a lot more than what you're going to read and see in a true crime documentary, all of that crap. All of it. Because that case, just like Manson, just like Son of Sam, the true crime stuff, it's all propaganda. It's propaganda to keep the cover up going, to keep the jig going. Because people can think that it's super anointed, that these things are similar, or that they're all happening around the same time, and then the FBI has the audacity to be like, no, there's no snuff films. No. There's no such thing as, ritual killing of animals. It's all natural causes. Satanic ritual abuse? Not real. Not real. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I'm tired of victims being gaslit and honestly them thinking that the public is stupid. Seriously. I think it's completely ridiculous. Now, I'm going to show you one article that's not in the newspaper archive, just so you guys can like see what they were saying to these victims. It's not too bad. They put it in UPI, so I figured, that's safe. Yeah, so we're going to look at this. So this is from 1992, harrowing videotape shown in mass murder case. Depicts suspect Charles Ng and a friend tormenting kidnapped sex slaves at their mountain hideaway. And here we go. The video was buried near the Wilseyville cabin where Ng is accused of killing 11 people with his alleged accomplice, survivalist Leonard Lake during the mid-1980s. A transcript of the tape shows Ng and Lake threatening to torture and kill 2 women who appear to be handcuffed unless they submit to sexual demands. While you're here, we'll keep you busy. You'll wash for us, clean for us, cook for us. You'll have sex for us. It's not much of a choice unless you've got a death wish. And that was to an 18-year-old victim. If you don't go along with us, we'll probably take you into the bed, tie you down, rape you, shoot you, and bury you. Sorry, lady, time's up. Make your choice. Allen, who was the girlfriend of a former cellmate of Ng's at Fort Leavenworth Military Prison, later replied, "I'll go along with whatever you want. Excuse me for being shy." Allen's sister, Diane Montemuro, attended the court hearing but did not view the videotape after discussing the contents. And down here, another videotape showed Ng using a bayonet to cut off the bra worn by a second victim, 19-year-old Brenda O'Connor, who begs for her baby. "Why do you guys do this? You can't keep my baby from me. You can cry and stuff like the rest of them, but it won't do you no good. We are pretty, cold-hearted, so to speak." No acts of violence are shown on the videotape, which was played during a preliminary hearing to determine if Ng will stand trial on the murder charges. And that is where the FBI would like the entire conversation to end. That's where they want it to end. That's where the government wants the public to leave it. But the reality is that, they found remains of babies, children, and a lot of adults. And those guys talked about that they were running an operation. They were selling those videos. They found, like those big, drum barrels, you know what I mean, that you can bury in the ground. Like, they found those full of, weapons and videotapes and photographs, and there were photographs of kids. It is what it is. these things are not isolated. This is a massive network that goes coast to coast. And that's why it drives me so crazy that, like, Wikipedia and when you Google the Franklin scandal, it still says that it's not true. It bothers me so much. I mean, I guess I shouldn't let it, but it really does. I think it's unacceptable. I understand that, our society in general doesn't want to accept that these things are real, but that's not everybody else's problem. You know what I mean? Because people need to come to terms with it so that we can just stop this. Because I have a feeling the deeper that we look into the Son of Sam and what's going on, I'm kind of glad that I'm not familiar with New York. That way I'm not like focused on one area. I'm just, if I see a name that susses me out, I'm looking into them and figuring them out. But I have a feeling as we start making all these ties and we're getting closer and closer, and I think the Phoenix House is going to be a big part of it, I think that we're going to see those connections. Because, I mean, don't forget, guys, that property that Jeffrey Epstein had, like, Leslie Wexner bought it. So there's, where does he live, right? Because I thought that as we were moving over towards the Son of Sam, like leaving Cielo Drive, I thought that maybe we would be passing some Wexner money then. I think that I'm wrong, but I don't know. Who knows what we'll find? Let me see. All right. It's like a firewall. John Atack says they're false memories. Yeah, well, John Atack is full of crap. That is my opinion. Let me see. The Renaissance Festival network is real. Plenty of them in upstate New York City and the Westchester County area back in the day. John Atack has to drive a clown car. They want to say they're an expert. GFY, GFY. Hi, Dave Steege. No worries. Dear Mr. Mecton, how does Mr. John Atack prove they are false memories? Survivalists with kitty corn. Let me see. Leonard Ng may have had very evil Asian connections. Yeah, I mean, there's something there. These people are connected somehow. You know what I mean? People live in the town where the Renfest happens in Arizona, outside of Phoenix Metro. Just drove past them. Reminds me of Roger Moore of OKC. Reminded me of the trailer park in Twin Peaks. Ooh. Yeah, he lives in... Yeah, Leslie Wexner's in Ohio. I thought that maybe we would pass some Leslie Wexner ties leaving California and coming over, but we haven't yet. Researchers shouldn't be so Yonkers-centric. There's a lot more to it than Untermeyer Park. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm glad that I'm not familiar with the area, and that I'm just kind of looking up the names. I think that it just helps me kind of keep it as broad as possible. And that's okay. We're going to get there. It is what it is. We're still trying to figure out if the people that Michael Carr III was photographing in the Auditor magazine, if those guys were Guardian Office agents. Because if they were, then that's fascinating. But I fully do believe that Michael Carr was working at Phoenix House. I don't really understand why Francis and Wheat would be so adamant otherwise. And like I said, I play opposite day when it comes to reading anything that comes out of Wheat's mouth or Francis's mouth or Sam's, even though Sam doesn't really say too much, right? Let me see. Dana, literally every topic ties in with others. You look into one thing, it always leads back to something else you have looked into. Yes, that is absolutely true. But, people love to say that like I'm a stupid, crazy conspiracy theorist and I'm connecting dots that don't exist and blah, 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 including Mr. Atack specifically. The foremost expert on Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard, but who didn't look in the Auditor magazine about the cars. Okay. Cool take, bro. I lived near Leslie Wexner in Columbus, Ohio. Well, that's crazy. I've heard that, like, I don't know. I have a couple subscribers that are out there and they said that, like, there's buildings named after him or like dedicated to him that he owns. And it's like, oh, so you guys like literally don't care what he was doing. You literally don't care. But I feel the same way about Kinsey, in Indiana, at Indiana University, like the whole Kinsey building and like the statues. I'm like, gag me with a pitchfork. Please impale me. It's disgusting. It's completely disgusting. Let me see. There is a possibility of Okay, you guys are talking about some other stuff. Les Wexner went Ohio, and now it's one of the biggest hubs for organ trafficking and transplants. Epstein established that rat line. Yeah, well, Epstein, I just don't think that it can be ignored that they're all within walking distance of each other. Because they are. And that was a different time. A lot easier to get things done. Forensics of Evil makes the most amazing maps. Like, amazing maps. They're incredible. I aspire to make cool maps like that one day. But I like the concept of just kind of like putting a photo or an identifier and drawing the distance in between and showing how close they are. Because they're all real close, guys. That's not a coincidence. Sorry. How many times do we have to see something before it becomes a conspiracy? It's not a coincidence. It's simply not. And I want to know what Michael was doing at Phoenix House, if John was involved in Phoenix House at all, if Sam was involved in Phoenix House at all. I don't know. I don't know. This family, I just don't understand why. I mean, I understand to an extent, but the more that I look into this, there is something deeply wrong with this family. This family is protected on high, and I don't know why. Generally, historically speaking, people are protected to this extent for not good reasons, certainly not philanthropic reasons. And I just have nothing nice to say at all. I do not see them as victims. I do not feel sorry for them. I think that at the time they were, from what I have seen, what I have read, dangerous individuals. Doesn't make sense to me that Wheat had so much information. Doesn't make sense to me that Wheat was dictating, pretty much in my personal opinion, the entire investigation. It doesn't make sense. Because next time, something that I'm going to show you guys, because I really wanted to just kind of like step out and do a contrast and comparison, you know what I mean? But next time I'm going to show you guys like all of the other Molotov attacks that were going on. Like I just looked it up in New York. I didn't look it up like in Yonkers or in Westchester County. I just looked it up in New York. There were a lot going on at that time. Were they blaming all of those on David Berkowitz? Because I think it's real bold that Wheat Carr just assumes that it was David Berkowitz. Seriously. I think that it is a super bold claim and it's kind of audacious. I think that he's the fall man. And like I said, I'm not here to exonerate him in the court of public opinion or in a court of law. He's made his choices up to this point. But that doesn't mean that the truth doesn't matter. The individual that you guys have identified here specifically, who I guess has occult moderators, they say that the evidence has to be something that can go into a court of law, that it has to be able to be tried in a court of law. I would say that that person doesn't have a great grasp of history as a whole, especially when it comes to corruption and intelligence networks. That's not how these things work in real life. It sounds great in theory, but these people were protected for a reason. And I don't just think that it was Michael Samuel Carr II. I think that it was also Frances. I think that there was something within her family history specifically. I still want to know what the hell happened to her sister, because again, it's just freaking weird that nobody talks about how John and Wheat's aunt, or John's aunt, you could say as well, that they both die in the same year. And both of their death certificates are redacted. That's weird. And Michael Carr III and then Michael Carr, who is Michael Samuel Carr II, they're both registered in the Church of Scientology. That's weird. There's just too many things. I think at the end of the day, the Church of Scientology and the Process Church of the Final Judgment were protecting them ultimately. But, am I going to be able to prove it and bring it into a court of law? Probably not. Tom O'Neill literally proved that Vincent Bugliosi lied. Nothing happened. Nothing happened except for a PR campaign trashing his book, trashing his research, trashing his work, which that individual has also started on that campaign as well. Seems like there's a lot of bandwagoning going on YouTube. And, I'm not here for that, guys. I'm not going to go with what's cool or what's popular. Okay? I'm not. I don't care. I don't care what's popular, and I don't care what's cool. I don't think it's conspiratorial at all for Tom O'Neill to go to the intelligence angle. I already told you guys what he talked about Stephen Parent and his parish priest introducing him to a well-established pederast, and how that just stinks of a setup involving Stephen Parent. You know, he was so young, and these people are protected for a reason. These crimes don't get punished for a reason. And the Son of Sam, straight up, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I don't know anything about New York. I'm not sitting here doing a map of where all the crimes happened. But that's why I included that in my new opening schizo clip, because, like, I guess this is where I'll end it. That's why that was the best photo that I could find of, like, some of the early members where they're all standing on that staircase. And then just like a quick run through of all of the drawings. Most of those drawings do not look like David Berkowitz. Riddle me that. Riddle me that. There's a lot of Processians that look like that. A lot. A lot. You could kind of sit there with like a dartboard, you know? Like shooting fish in a barrel. It just doesn't make sense. And it's not about the intel angle being more interesting. The intel angle, the intelligence angle, cults being intelligence fronts, this being a domestic terrorism operation, that makes more sense. That makes more sense than some random person coming out and doing all of this. And then, like, I'm watching one of these documentaries. I'll stop ranting in a second, but I'm like watching one of these documentaries, and, you know, the newscaster is like, and they've arrested David Berkowitz, and you see him, and he is just smiling, and he's just so crazy. And I'm like, the dude is probably having like a sort of like psychotic breakdown. I don't think that he was actually happy. I'm around people who are dying all the time. There's a lot of awkward moments of laughter, guys. It is what it is. You don't know how you're going to react in a certain situation. And again, I don't think that he's completely innocent at all. He's made his choices. And I think that he has much more to lose than he does to gain. But the true crime stuff, it's propaganda. I just wish it would all go away. I'm not here to like censor people, but I seriously think that like all of that should go away, because it just feeds into it. It seriously feeds into it, and I don't like it. I don't like the way that the satanic panic is narrated. It is such a complex issue, and it is so dismissive across the board. And, well, it's just a lone nut who goes completely crazy, who just like happens to get let out of jail, or like is allowed to do X, Y, and Z. And, well, these other people might have been there, but they definitely weren't involved. The Carr family definitely wasn't involved. All of those really suspicious deaths. Okay. I want to see Wheat's copious notes that she was taking about everything. That's what I want to see. That's the only thing that I would take from her. And it would have to be like proven that they hadn't been edited. You know what I mean? That's just my take, though. That's the only thing that I would hear from her. Berkowitz isn't just a fall man. He was deeply involved. If Mrs. Wheat McCabe Carr led the investigation, it is the fault of journalists and police. I don't disagree. I think that it's insane that the cops let her dictate it. I do. I think it's completely insane. And like I said, I'm not here to exonerate him at all in the court of public opinion or legally. But who the hell is she? Why is she dictating an investigation? Why does the Carr family's 2 cents matter? Because like I said, next time we're going to look at all of the other Molotov cocktail things that are going on at the time. But old Wheat just knows what's up. Yeah, I think that she knows something specifically. Watch those who vociferously bash Tom O'Neill. Some of them really expose themselves. Go watch John Atack. Go watch John Atack. Go watch his interviews with Eric Hunley. Eric Hunley is the only person that has taken Atack to task or pushed back on him at all. And I respect the guy for it. I think that he did a good job. Seriously, go. That's literally why I'm on YouTube, is because of John Atack simping for Jolly West and bashing Tom O'Neill. That's why I came onto YouTube. Thank you so much, Andy Kurtz, Bruce W. Love it, Dana. Nice to hear someone talk sense. Well, thank you. Cults are only intelligence fronts until you realize the intelligence being fronted is a cult itself. Let me see. Dana, you make more sense than what I have seen elsewhere. Well, thank you. And let me see. Barking dogs annoy me too. Yeah, that meme that you made was absolutely hilarious. Ivermectin with Sam Carr with the dog, and you put Dana, go kill your neighbors. That made me laugh. It made me laugh. Yes, Huntley was very diplomatic. He was great. He was great. I think, ATAC can be, ATAC can be a bit of a dick. So I think that Huntley handled it very well. Very, very well. Oh, come on, Dana. There are channels supporting Jolly. There has literally been a 6-month PR campaign from John Atack, the expert, the authority on L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology, where he has just been running around bashing Tom O'Neill's book, simping for Jolly West, and I have factually refuted him. I have challenged him to a debate, and I have been blocked. I have been blocked. Even when I showed it right out of Jolly's mouth that Jolly met Sidney Gottlieb and he knew that he was working for the CIA doing LSD research. And it was at the time specifically of Project Artichoke. Oh, well. Guess you're not an authority on, well, I would say anything, because I don't think that anyone's an authority on anything. But this is where we're going to leave it for now, guys. I wanted to just kind of ground us and take a step back and look at something and show you guys my suspicion in regards to the Carr family denying vehemently any involvement with the Phoenix House, because I don't buy it. There will be much more to come as I dig into that. And I don't really know where we're going to go next. Me and Virginia are trying to hunt down any other Carr folks and any other suspicious Son of Sam parties, especially some on the fringes that might be involved in the church as well. Because like I said, this is a lot of hands from higher up that are making this go away, making the problems disappear. But we have a long way to go. So... oh, dang, Jay Snyder. Thank you so much. Go back and read the convo between me and Soil Lodge. Okay, I will go back. Do you want me to go back now? Because I was going to end the show. So hold on. Dana, they do want a debate. They never have a cultural interlocution or intellectual discourse. Oh, thank you guys for plugging my stuff. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate that very much. I just want to make sure if you want me to go back and read it, because I don't know where it is, Jay Snyder. It might not even be showing up. So do you want me to go back after the show? I don't want to leave you hanging. You sent me like a super chat or sticker. I'm still not used to these things, guys, so I don't know what they are. And thank you, Brad Conley. I appreciate it. I'm going to wait for Jay Snyder to answer or Soil Lodge. Sorry, guys. I want to see. I mean, they do not want... oh, well, yeah. Well, you don't want to debate a woman? Come on now. They probably think that they could wipe the floor with me. No. This hillbilly in the woods can bring it. Don't need to go back now. Okay, perfect. All right, thanks, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and run the exit. Thank you guys so much for being here. And, we'll get back to it very, very soon. I appreciate it, guys.